For WPG Masterclass with none other than Michael Burritt. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
This afternoon for you, I believe. Yeah, one-ish, something like that. So fantastic that you've been able to come and give your words of wisdom to some of the guys here. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a swift session today because we've got a lot to get through over the 2.5 hours, but we'll keep it moving. I'll keep it fresh, and I'm sure Michael's going to do an amazing job. So firstly, we're going to bring on Albin just to tell you a little bit about himself, where he's from, and what he's playing. I'll cue up the first video.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Albin, and I'm currently studying in Denmark. I'm a bachelor's, but I'm from Sweden.
Nice.
Yeah. And this
whereabouts in Sweden are you from? Can I ask?
Helsingborg.
Yeah, I've been there. Beautiful.
So I studied with Johan Burritt, who made the arrangement of the Paganini Caprice.
Johan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine. He was a former student of mine from a long time ago.
Yeah, he told me that as well.
He's a good guy.
Like, you should choose Michael Burritt. He's he told me that.
Tell him I said thanks.
Of course I will. Yeah. No, but I really like this arrangement, and he taught me a bit on how to play it, and then I took out some by there and stuff like that.
Great.
So I only had the violin scores.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Yeah.
Shall we hear it?
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to just disappear backstage. If you need me, I'll be here.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
Thank you very much.
Wow, that's incredible. First thing I think about is, glad I'm not playing that piece. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Kill me, you know. I think it was great. I mean, overall, Alban is really impressive, man.
Thank you very much.
You're really, really impressive playing. And well, let me ask you before I make a few comments for you. But how do you feel when you watch that? It's always interesting to watch videos, right, of ourselves. It's just quite. You learn. I always learn. I learn a lot of things when I watch myself or even just listen to myself. I watch myself on video. You get so much out of it. What do you think about that? How did you feel about
it? I felt like I learned a lot because I listened to it a lot when I played. And I was actually pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it. I think it was my first take, actually. I did this. I just went up and I went like, whoa, it actually went pretty good when I played this piece now. So I'm just going to keep this.
Yeah. Sometimes the first take is that way because you're fresh and focused, right? You kind of have that energy about you. That's good for the first take. That's impressive.
I knew it was like these few notes that I miss as well, but it's so some of the parts are really, really difficult to hit everything right, and I still don't really know how to do it.
Yeah. So it's impossible. I think. Well, I think your accuracy. I wrote here that I thought your accuracy. Well, your accuracy and your overall facility at the marimba, your ability to get around the instrument is really impressive. Actually, it doesn't surprise me. You study with Johan. Johan has like crazy hands, you know. So, but so your facility is great. You can play what you need to play. You know, it doesn't seem like in no way does the piece seem in any way too hard for you. I know that it's challenging. I'm not, you know, obviously because we're marimbas and we understand what each other does. We sort of get a sense of, wow, we know what it takes to to play that and to put that together. But you do a great job with it, and it's really, really impressive in that way. I think that a couple things. I actually have one question, just at the very beginning with when you play the theme in the first statement there.
Yeah.
Is it written to arpeggiate everything? Yum, but I think you're like arpeggiating every chord or something. Is that right? Or?
Yeah, every chord I'm arpeggiating.
And that is that your choice or is that Johan's transcription? What is that?
That is Johan's transcription, or he took it from Liszt's piano arrangement of it. And
I don't remember. So that's
he's
arpeggiating everything like that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did.
Sometimes
so he took it from there, and
sometimes I feel like that can get. That sometimes I feel like that kind of thing can get redundant. You know what that means when I say redundant? Like,
I think so. I try to make it. I try to make it very interesting because it's very difficult to get the arpeggios to sound very good with the other notes, and I'm still not super happy with it how I play it. But I try to mess with it a bit and experiment.
Yeah, you might want to if you're going to play all those arpeggios, you might want to. I know there's a constraint in terms of the notes that you have to play around them, but you might want to play some faster or less, or maybe just for energy, yum, rum, so they're almost more percussive at times. And then when you want them to open up more, in terms of how you're phrasing the overall statement, the way you approach the arpeggio might be able to help accentuate that. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you go faster, or it depends how So anyway, that's a small thing. So I think and I had to say a few things I'm sure that you're already thinking about. I mean, the one thing you obviously are trying to do is characterize the different variations, right? Give each variation its own sort of distinct sense of character, personality, right? And you want to have that. Right? So I mean, obviously, the way he treats it musically already gives you stuff to work with. I think you could lean into that. I mean, from what I see in the video, and video is, I'm always cautious to make big judgments when I see someone play musically on the video, because video doesn't, it's not as impactful as if I was in the room with you, right? So, but I could see you really leaning into try and, now that you have it, so you can play it, trying to lean into the characters of the variations more.
Okay,
so that each variation has much more, like even in more extreme ways, and that could be rubato and dynamic, but just the way you treat them, like, some are more animated, some are more intense and percussive, and help me really feel the distinction there more, I think would be good. Does that make sense?
I get it. It makes sense. But is there a way to practice that in a?
Well, I mean, there's like anything else. I think if I'm telling a student, if we're in the same room, we could try things together. I could ask you to do things, but I think if one thing I always tell my students to do is try things in a big way. Like if I'm saying to you, play quieter here, play really quiet, see what that sounds like. I'm saying use more rubato, use a lot more rubato, and you can always make it less. You can change it, but when you're trying something new, oftentimes our tendency, after having played something for a long time, is to try it and it will make a little change because a little change as a player feels like a big change, but a little change as a listener is not always as big. Like, you may feel like it's a big change, but I hear it, it's not. So I would try things, lean into the ways you want to play it. And maybe as you listen back to this, take notes on it. Am I making big enough distinctions? Do I feel like I'm really, this may sound, can sound, altruistic, like I'm telling a story through the piece. That's something we all talk about doing, especially with this. You can think that way. And I think also with you, you play well, you have a good sense of authority at the marimba. There's two things I think you could think about. One is playing with more freedom. Like, if I feel like you're on it, you're working at it, and it doesn't feel insecure, but you could play more like it's more abandoned. When someone to say for you to play with abandon. Do you understand what that means?
I think so.
What do you think? So? Tell me what you think it means.
You mean like I'm not supposed to like aim at the notes I'm playing?
You can aim.
Yeah, but I'm supposed to like feel them more, or in a way.
Almost like you're improvising, right? In a way, like when you play something and you know something really well. We've all had those moments. And you can really it just feels so comfortable that you're really just speaking through the instrument, and the piece is not in the way. The music, the facility of the piece. So I think you need to push yourself there, because some of this could be played with more abandoned, more like you're just going for it, and like
I'm just doing it, or
and more that way, because it feels a little bit now like you're a little bit working at it. Not overly, but I get that sense, and you could play more like with more, yum bada bada yum bada bada yum, more and less more like bum bada bada bada, but more like with more bravado, maybe that way.
Okay, yeah.
And I think also this has to do with your posture a little bit, which I think by and large your posture is okay when you play, but I think you tend to be a little more over the marimba at times. So you are leaning like you're like, if I walk over to my marimba here, can you see this okay, Alan?
Yeah, I can.
I'm here, like maybe you're some mallets. If I grab some mallets, I'm not gonna, you tend to be a little more like you're here, and maybe be more here. Can you see that distinction of my posture from here?
Oh yeah.
Just a little more. You can still be as focused, but if you're like this a lot, if you're just a little bit like that, it can tend to feel like you're working a little harder, because you're over a little bit. You don't feel, it doesn't feel as open in the experience as a listener. Okay, I don't feel like it's open. And your sound can get bigger from that. If you just a little bit of posture, it puts the weight in your legs more. And when the weight is all the way, if you're to stand up and lean over, and then, not a lot, I mean, just a little bit, and then stand up, you can feel your center of gravity really drop to your legs and your feet. My goal is to always have it there, no matter what I'm playing. Okay. Now we have to lean over sometimes. There's spots where you're leaning over to play certain figures. I'm not saying that you're playing like but you're just more centered on your legs, and you're not over and feeling any tension in your shoulders and playing down. That opens it up. It actually gives you more freedom too, because when you make your posture more relaxed, it opens up everything you do here more. And it feels like you're playing out there. You're not just, it's not just you and the marimba, which of course it is, but you want it to be like you're playing it for us, and it just helps you to open up more. It's a subtle thing. Just check it out. Look at your posture in this, which again, I wouldn't say, Alvin, you have bad posture. That's not what I'm saying. I would say, you know what? A little nudge. Let's get off the marimba a little bit. Let's just open up a little bit, and open up all of this and see what that does, both to your sound and the feel. All right.
I will check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say, sound-wise, again, like I said, sound and musicianship are super hard to really get to drill down on through this medium. Like we can get some of it, we can. Sound is hard. So your sound seems okay to me. Sometimes it's a little bright in the lower notes, right? And I know on recordings when we do like a recording microphone, things can sound harder because the mic picks up the attack more than it picks up the other parts of that sound world, right? It tends to pick up the hardest, loudest part because that's what it hears. You hear more of that. So I know that what I'm hearing isn't exactly what it sounds like if I was in that hall with you, but I might suggest, if it's possible, I don't know how you use your mallets, but I typically, if most of the time I'm using, if in my right, I'm using 3 mallets the same here, and my bass mallet here is just a little softer.
I did this.
You did this?
In this piece, I have 3 orange chanchufas and 1 red blue chanchufa.
Okay, so I don't know the chanchufa mallets well enough to know what that means, but to me, the lower mallet at times sounded a little brighter, like a little harder than maybe you would want it to. And I think,
and in some cases I did that, but it's also because I'm sometimes playing it pretty high up.
Yeah, I know.
It disappeared too much.
It's a hard thing because we have this big marimba, and we have to, this is something we deal with forever. Especially, when I was younger, when I was your age, I wasn't playing on a 5-octave marimba. I mean, basically, when I was in college, I don't know if you're still in school. You're still in school, right?
Yeah, I'm doing my bachelor's.
So you're in your 20s, young 20s, right?
I'm 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I was 23, all I had was a low A marimba. So it was 4 1/3 octaves. And, you had mallets that worked easier. When you get lower past that A, right, and even past the C there, right, those notes are trickier, right, for us. So the mallets that work well above middle C often don't work as well below middle C. And that's a general statement, right? So we're going to have to make decisions saying, okay, you know what? Where am I willing to sacrifice? Am I willing to sacrifice in the upper register a little bit or the lower register, right? Sound-wise, quality-wise, because sometimes we have to. We have the whole range that we're using, This is true if you're playing Paganini, you're playing Vignale, doesn't matter, right? It's just stuff. So I would say to you, for me, typically, not always, but typically, I'll sacrifice more in the upper so that the bottom notes have rich sound.
Okay.
Usually, and I'm not saying I'm going to use a soft mallet and not be able to hear those sounds in the upper register, but I'll lean towards something that's a little softer so that I can.
So it's more open in the bass register.
Yeah, it just makes it. And actually, what happens is those sounds, it creates the illusion of length. Even though I can hit the low bar with a hard mallet and a soft mallet, it rings the same amount. But when I hit it with a softer mallet, even if it's a little bit softer, it sounds like it rings longer because the attack isn't so immediate. That hard attack, boom, that immediate sound goes away quick. When there's less more ta, you hear more of the ring because there's not as big a shift in your dynamic threshold after the attack. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
If you experiment, you just hit a note, you hear it ring, then you take just even a degree softer, it rings the same, but it creates the effect of longer or the illusion of longer. And that also helps. It's almost like it helps us create a sense that we have a pedal at the marimba, like a pianist would have a piano pedal. And if those low notes ring more underneath the notes that come after it, it helps us make everything sound more connected. That ring helps connect things, right? So small things. These are small things, and I wish I could hear you in the room. But your playing is really impressive, Alvin. You're a great young player, and you get around the marimba like a champion. It's really super impressive. I love hearing the piece. I just heard the Paganini. The Rachmaninoff Paganini variations with the Paris. When I was in Paris in May, I went to the Orchestra of Paris, and I'm trying to remember. I was just looking up, and I can't remember her name. It's an amazing pianist. Opened the concert with that piece, and she was unbelievable. I was going to tell you to listen to her. She sounds great. She's really great, and she played 3 encores, but unbelievable. But but that's and she played with such freedom and such. It was wonderful to hear that. And I think that's your next step, because you got everything else. Now you take that next step, man. It's great.
I will do that.
Yeah. So, check out the Lutoslawski version as well. That's pretty cool.
I will do that.
Yeah. Especially, I think back in the day, Safri Duo did it with 2 pianos and 2 percussion. It's really cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah. We've actually arranged it. Well, I haven't arranged it, but one of my guys has arranged it for our tour in October. So we'll be showcasing that one. But it's pretty cool. Anyway, congrats, Albin.
Bravo, great. Nice to meet you. Great to meet you.
Thank you. Great to meet you too, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent work. All right, we're going to go over. Well, not so far away from you, Michael. We're going to go down to Texas.
Okay.
Megan. Hey, Megan.
I know this young lady.
Hi.
Megan and I were just in Italy together not too long, just a few weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we were. Jihei was doing this thing, and I was over with Jihei, and we were in Tuscany. It was beautiful, huh, Megan?
It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Tim, this is like this festival. There were more hills and stairs than anywhere in my whole life. Like if you want to get in shape, like the hills. That's Megan. The hills.
Well, they have to account for all the wine and the food. So
the pasta, exactly. It worked out. I mean, it was pretty insane. But it was beautiful, and Megan was great. You did some great playing there, Megan. It was great.
Thank you.
All right. Do you want to? Sorry to cut you short, but we are in a little time. Do you want to just say what you're going to play?
Yeah. I'll be playing Spiel by Andy Akiho.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
All right.
Bring it on.
Here we go.
Nothing like Glockenspiel on the 4th of July holiday. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's perfect, right? Wow, great. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh. I like the way you look at the camera at the end. You're like, this is it. I'm done. Is that at UNT? Where are you recording that?
Yes, I was at UNT.
Is that the room? Is that the main?
Yeah, it's like the big concert hall. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know that one because I think I know the one that's like kind of near where the percussion practice rooms are, more like a recital hall. That's a different room.
Yeah, that's a different room. Yeah.
Cool. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, I had like 30 minutes in that room to film like 3 different things. So that was kind of like I don't usually get to go in there. So I had like one take. I was like, okay, I have to do this right now.
Yeah. So I mean, it's great. So so great job. I think it's a great piece for you, actually. I understand why. I can understand what attracted you to the piece. You got those good Santa Clara snare drum chops, right? They come through on those situations. No, I get it. That's great. It is very like Andy's writing in general, whether it be that piece or Cartograph or, a lot of the Seven Pillars piece too. There's so much drumming nature to it, right? Which is really, really cool. Did you know, this is a side thing, but it's interesting. On PBS, there is a great performances. Have you seen this with Andy Akiho?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, you should check it out. He talks about how he wrote the piece, and it's kind of cool. It's cool. It's cool that PBS did a special on it. It's really nice. So I think you play it. It's really what I like about it, and this is actually, I think, it's a video. I keep saying this. So videos are hard to capture the essence of. In some ways, your energy and the essence of sound, both. But I thought, having said that, your energy in this piece and your overall ability to play and kind of have fun with it and go for it, it felt really clear that you were doing that, which I thought was really effective and really great with this piece. In some ways, I think and I thought you played the stout really well when you were in Tuscany, but I still felt like you could relax more, right? I see you, and I know, I can tell. It's not bad. You did a great job. It's all right. It's a nervous playing in there, right? We're all nervous. Going to play for each other, right? So I get it. But I thought with this, you even opened up more, which was great. I know it's a different variables. It's whatever. So I know it's not like apples and apples. The stout on this, it's like it's different things. But musically speaking, I thought this was a good thing. You watch that, I think this is great. I love the way you started it. Kind of came out, and you're like, I'm going. It just sort of started like, bam. So a couple things. These are small things about aesthetic of your video, just for the heck of it. While we're on here. One, I don't like the stand right there. I know you need. I'm not telling you to memorize it. Whatever. Actually, it would be cool if you could do even an iPad for something like that, if possible.
That's true.
With that little pedal. And then you could have, because the iPad, I use that sometimes if I'm doing pieces I play sometimes with like snare drum solo things or stuff like that. I don't use it on marimba very much because I don't find it helpful. But for me, it's just not comfortable. But like for something like this, it's a smaller thing. I don't see it as much, maybe a little lower. And then also with your video on this, like if you're going to do another video of this for something, I would have the video up a little higher, the camera, so I can see your hands moving better. And I can see the glockenspiel and all that. That's also very compelling to the audience, right, in these kind of situations. So if you're playing it for a recital, maybe you already did it, I would maybe play, depending on the hall. So, some halls, like that one hall that I know where the seats go up. That's a great hall for percussion because you can see down and it's very effective, right? But if it's not that way, you want to turn sideways a bit, maybe they can see you from the side if the stand is there, I
did it on a recital in that other hall, and I did angle it a little bit too.
That makes a difference. Yeah. So these are aesthetic things. These are your playing was great. So I think it was great. I thought it was very animated. I thought at the beginning, this is a small thing. Like when you get to the beginning, and those first times you have the death stroke, you stop, you do death stroke, and then death stroke. Like in the first, first quarter of the piece, whenever those first death strokes happen, I feel like you could accentuate those in your physicality more. In your, if I'm playing, it's hard to demonstrate on Zoom. If I were to play something instead of, I go to the marimba and come over here and I have something and I play let's say I'm playing and I go, I have a death stroke. I'm going to go, see my head move with it?
Yes.
Almost like my body brings something to the moment to make it feel even more like, right? Like, fuck. And then it releases it after you move. And it's really cool that way. I think you could embody that more in those moments. I thought you did it later, actually, a little bit in the piece. But some of that happened more that way. So it's a small thing, but it's kind of cool if you can think that way and watch that in yourself and think about how your physicality can really, because it sort of tells me what you're feeling when you play it, right? It's even less necessarily about, it's not as much about make it look good for others. It's about, I can learn about you by the way you are expressing yourself when you're playing. I can feel that in that. And so you doing that helps us to go there more, to understand what's going on, you know? One of the challenges of this is like the sound world is kind of a limited sound world, right? I mean, because you got glockenspiel with the those are like timbale sticks, right?
Yeah, I used like drum set sticks, the back of them. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. So it's great. So that works. Whatever feels comfortable, you get those doubles out and you get the sounds you want, and you got to find. Because you want to find something with the right. If the durometer is too thick, then it sounds a little bit too ticky on the Glock. You want to find something that works, you know. So that's fine. I'm sure what you're doing is great. But you're you know, the bandwidth of color is less than we have on the marimba, right? It's kind of here's your sound, and we can like. So what can you do? What kind of things have you thought about doing to help open up or to help bring more depth to your sound world, dynamically, color-wise? Anything you thought about that at all in terms of how you approach it?
I have. I mainly try to save the very low dynamic kind of where it is a little bit more of the contact sound, I guess, of just how the sticks work for the section after the really long dead stroke pause. I actually got to play this for Cameron Leach a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
And he just explained like that's the one part where you kind of can lose the listener if there's not a change there, because then it's just kind of going back to what it was before, and it's just a lot of high pitch for a long time. So I try to keep it at a healthy dynamic for most of the beginning half, just so that the change is there.
Yep.
But
yeah, I mean, I think, and also I know that with sticks, I grab a stick over here. Get a stick. I have a stick, and I'm holding a stick. So when I hold a stick normally, I'll probably hold it like here. Let me go back up a little bit, right? And somewhere in here. If I'm playing and I want to get a softer sound, like on a ride cymbal, I move up a little bit. Because when there's less stick in front, it's a little lighter sound. I mean, there's a point of diminishing returns. Right? I'm not going to go too far, right?
Right.
Make sure that actually some orchestral people sometimes will move up just to play the bolero stuff. They'll come up on the stick a little bit, you know, then whatever, small thing. But you could experiment with that because I think it would be a lighter sound. You could hear that sound. It's okay if I move up a little bit for certain sections. There's less stick in front of me. You need to have enough stick for balance so that you can get all the notes out, right? All that kind of stuff. But it might lighten up your sound in a way that sort of added to what you're trying to create in terms of making the sound world as expansive as possible on this instrument, where that's a big challenge, which makes the piece really compelling, I think. Because if you can help me with the sound world and really make it bigger than I expect it to be, then
totally.
Does that make sense? I was like, wow.
Yeah, thank you.
That's cool. I can't believe it's a glockenspiel, right? You know, so you can mess around with that. If we were together again, you and I could say, let's try this. What does that sound like? And we try different sounds and see, you know, because I know sometimes you can't always move. It's hard to move up on the stick. It's easy to move up on the stick, but then you got to move back, right? You got to have a time in the piece to be able to do that as you're playing. You know, I'm kind of moving it and catching it, but that can happen. But you can try. And then the ending, I love the glisses. It's great. Make sure, like especially the first set, before because you get to the loud set. There's like two phrases with glisses, right?
Yeah.
Don't let that push. I think the tendency is because you think you have to hurry back off the gliss, that you actually don't give yourself all the time you have. And so I think when you do that, you sort of take a little air out of the balloon in terms of the phrase really building, you know. So make sure zoom, whatever it is, take your time so the gliss can be fully realized, and so that the phrase feels like it just sits there and maintains the intensity of its durational significance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because that's a really cool section, I think, and you played it with a lot of intensity and gravitas. It's so cool, right? That make sure it sits there, you know. So, Other than that, I think it's when you're doing the gliss, are you glissing like that? Are you glissing like if we're holding the stick? Are you going like that, or are you going like that? What are you doing?
I'm using like the front of the stick, kind of just like this.
What happens if you did? I'm curious because I did this sometimes when I have some of the students are playing cartograph. Sometimes when they're holding and I have to listen on the pipes, I'll say go like that, and they'll go like that, and they can get a thicker sound or a different sound. It's like so. Are you using a stick like this, but you're playing it this way?
Yes.
So
then I totally could flip it and do that. That's a great idea. I will definitely.
Yeah, and also it's actually visually kind of fun. It's kind of visually fun, and then like it's almost like you're using traditional grip. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you can mess around with that's an idea.
Totally. Thank you.
You can try it, So, and then I think you need to put tassels on your sticks. Okay, I'm joking. I'm just joking.
No, I can get glitter ones too. Yeah.
Yeah, glitter ones. No, super great. You should send a video to Andy. Send it to Akio.
Yeah, I'm working on a studio recording of it. Just talk to him about it soon. But this was kind of my in-between one, I guess, from recital, this one, and then I'll do the big one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool piece. Yeah. Super
thank
cool.
You.
The glockenspiel solo. But great job, Megan. Good to see you again. Nice work.
Yeah, great to see you too. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Yeah. Are you in Texas now?
Yes, I am.
Nice and hot. Is it nice and hot down there? How is it?
It's very hot. Yeah. It's not good.
So we got a bunch of rain here. I'm hoping it clears up so we can have a 4th of July without rain, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I hope you've been having a great summer.
Take care of yourself, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, good job, Megan. Well done.
Megan, great.
All right, we're going to stay in the US.
Okay.
We're going to go to Hunter.
Yeah. Hunter Gross.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Hey, how you
doing well? How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. I always say Hunter's got the radio voice of the group.
Yeah, okay. He does have that deep voice. I know Hunter. Hunter, you're a former student of Andy Stevens, right?
Yes. Oh, not Dr. Vinay.
Dr. Vinay, that's right.
That's you. Yes. Yeah. No, you're all good. But yeah, usually I have my microphone and everything attached right now. I'm on my laptop, so I don't have the extra, boost in the bass and all that from having a microphone. So I'm in the AirPods right now. But yeah, I'm definitely known as the radio guy around here. So
where are you in the world? Or where are you in the States? Are you in Florida or where are you?
Yeah, I'm currently in Oklahoma right now. Got my bachelor's here, went out to Florida for the grad degree and doing some adjunct work out here and playing with Heartland Marimba and getting ready for DMA stuff this semester. So just working and practicing right now.
You're playing with Matt and Hannah and those guys?
Yes. Yeah. I recently started subbing with the quartet back in March, and now I've been kind of hired on for this next season. So I'm super excited. We just got done playing with Lynn Bartan in Utah. She had a little music festival going on, and it's been a blast.
Was Hannah with you guys on that one, and Matt both, or?
No, actually, it was just Matt. Hannah is kind of in this weird in-between process with Heartland right now. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but and then another guy, Brian Pearson, Sophia Lowe from UNT, have been kind of subbing. We're in this weird area right now, but we're still gigging, and it's been great for me. So I've been having a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, Matt's a good guy. I've known him. He was I keep saying this. Sorry, but I'm so old now. But all my people, these my students. Yeah. So Matt was a student of mine back just after Johan. So he's not but he's a great player. Very. I'm really proud of him. He really went after his own things. His own goals.
Right. He is a go-getter.
Creative energy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love the guy, and he's killing it right now with the Kutztown Center Mallet Research thing, and it's he's big inspiration for me. So it's been a lot of fun playing with him.
Good to be connected. So you got Mirage or something? Is that right? Did I see?
Yeah, Mirage. Mirage. I'm looking to just get reps solidified for auditions, and I love this piece, and I've obviously love your recording of it, and I just I love your thoughts on it. It's not a perfect recording.
That up. It's very wise of you. I like that. You know what I'm
saying? Well, I mean, in the process that I was constantly listening to it, and I absolutely love it. Love the piece, and I'd love any thoughts. Obviously, there's some extra things, but I would love any thoughts you have on it in terms of whatever your offers. So, and I told Tim we don't have to play the whole thing, so I know it's pretty lengthy, but I'm not sure. Whatever.
Mirage, man. You kidding me? Mirage is like a commercial compared to
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
No kidding. But
superseded. Cool. We play the whole thing. All right.
Sure.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
let's go for it.
Let's do it, man. Nice. All
Thank you so
Hunter.
much.
Great. Let me hang on a second here. I gotta turn something off.
Yeah, no worries.
I have a fan blowing on me that needs to stop blowing on me. There we go. Sounds better now too. I forgot I had that on. Great, man. It's it is a wonderful piece. It's interesting. That piece was something I learned probably like the mid '80s.
Oh wow.
Like when I was in school. No, maybe when I got out of school. I forgot, but probably.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, in some ways, I joke about it. It's almost like, in some ways, that was my Moju back in the day. Moju,
right?
It was like that was.
Oh yeah.
At the time, I was like, oh, Mirage, But I still think the great thing about Mirage is, it's sort of stood the test of time as a piece that I think is one of the great pieces we have that, and those pieces, just, I don't know how many people are watching, or it's just you and I and Tim, or what's going on here, but wherever, but, Albin's watching. Thank you, Albin. Very good.
There we go. We got at least 4 in there.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. There's a few. So to me, those pieces from that time period, like, you got Time from Reba, Mirage, Torch 3, others, Tonica is in there, Conversations, which is a little different kind of piece, but all those people, but those, especially Mirage and Time and Torch 3, are pieces those are maybe some of the very first art pieces we had from Reba Solo, like,
right.
Maybe you could argue that the Fishinger, which is from the 50s, is a piece that could be in that category of art solo piece like that. So, but great, great music, and certainly a piece that, I never get tired of teaching it. I teach it a lot. So in Eastman, people are playing it all the time. And, it's like,
I bet.
There's a few pieces that are rolling around the studio often. That's one of them, because I think you can teach a lot of music through the piece, and you learn a lot through that piece, about how to pace and how to think about tension and release and all those things that are going on in that music. It's so expressive, so I think you did a really good job. It's hard. So the piece got a lot of stuff going on in that piece. And sometimes, I find myself when I play that, it's easy for me to want to play things too fast. I have to kind of hold myself back, because then I'll try to get, so I think you had a great opening. I think in the opening phrase, some of the double stop stuff, you don't have to play as fast. I mean, I don't know if this can come through, and I haven't practiced this this in a while, but if I have that spot where you go, yeah, bum, 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 I think it's there.
Yeah, the crazy lick. Yeah.
I think you just don't need to play it so fast. Yeah, da-da-dum-pa-pum, right? Don't feel like you need to burn that, because it's got its own intensity. Then you can't really play it through. Don't let moments where it gets hard like that to play fast. When you get to here, I should just say, can you see me over here? Is it too far away?
No, you're perfect. I can see perfectly.
Okay, good. All right. I'm wearing my holy jeans today, for you guys. Okay, so So this section here, when you get to the top of the second page, you finished all that stuff. I think take a breath here, and then let it be really easy. Let that really feel, that whole section, that top system of page 2 of the piece, can really be more meditative, even into the second system, I think. So, because I think as you got into the second system, I almost don't move dynamic at all in that first system. I almost, because after that first page, I need musical relief in that moment. I need the piece. We need to kind of
we have to be somewhere before we go somewhere,
Right, and we're taking it to the bottom of that page, which is going to get some teeth in it again real quick, right? So, so that section there just needs to be. I always tell my students, you're like sifting sand. You're like, it's like just easy, meditative, and then you get to the Piamoso in the third system. You can start to get some more expression, and maybe move it a little bit more there. You know what I mean? Move.
Right.
Piamoso, more emotion. Right? I think you need to think about that. Like, okay, I need for this to feel like there's a little more emotion, because that motion is taking us into the cadential parts of that page, right? The Piamoso. Does that make sense? Into it's kind of helping us move to that moment. Okay. those are some details in there. An idea for the bottom of the second page, which is I think it's the last thing. I don't dare try and rip all these things, but I mean, when you go into this stuff, and you have right, and you have first time you have that, right? So you have that. You come back out of that roll, okay? All those releases. So you have that is where the tension is the most. Right. And then bam, that roll releases it, right? So bam. So that space, you leave. What I would do each time you have that, make the space greater to build the tension. So you got body a little more space and then the cadential passage, right? So those three spaces can grow just a little bit as you go down the page, and that kind of helps the tension. I mean, it's a subtle thing, right? And it's not like you're making it. You're not adding a lot of space. Almost in a way, if you do it really well, you add just a little space after each release before you hit the attack of the roll. So that I wouldn't even, like, the listener may not notice, but they feel that tension tightening because you don't diffuse the space. You allow the first one, get up, bam. Second one, take it out, bam. Then the roll, and then boom, those three pillars, right? You can kind of go back and listen to that and ask yourself, maybe I could look at those spaces and try and, create some of that. A couple other things. So great. I don't know if that makes sense. It's hard I'm spieling here.
No, it completely does. I love it.
So if you go to, then you get all the way through the next section, right? We get through that Arligando, and now we're at the bottom of page 4, and you have those octaves. Those octaves. I think you need more hairpin, but those are inverted hairpins, meaning that instead of it being like this, it's the other way, right? The hairpin goes that way, right? It's like right? So you come into it loud, you go down, and the way I always approached it from a pacing standpoint was at the outer sections of the crescendos, the louder sections. I played a little slower. So and when it was softer, I played faster. So does that make sense? And that's
totally
a way to approach it. You kind of burn it when you're playing a little quieter, and then open it up and it's a little louder. But I think I need more shape there. Right now, you're playing that kind of as one dynamic, right? Or maybe you're doing some shape. I don't want to but I think you could challenge yourself to really make it feel, because that creates what I call centrifugal force. When you're in the car and you turn the corner, especially for your passenger, you can feel, you feel it, the car turns, and you sit back in. Centrifugal force, right? So dynamics create, and sometimes dynamics that go like that create that feeling, and you could do that more in those moments, I think,
Gotcha.
When you get to here, the section, this is page 5 now, and we're at the section that says cadenza. You have, right? Sorry. Whatever you have, all those sections in there. I think that can be more playful.
Gotcha.
Listen, the first 2 systems of that are cadenza. You get to the third system of that, and then it says vivace or vivo, I think, or something in it. Then you need to move. Then it says now we're in time and we're going. So those are those 2 systems are the preamble for what's coming. But it's also kind of done. More, and then
just popping out of texture a little bit.
Exactly. Then we're kind of winding it up, and then we go.
Right.
Okay. So I would just play with that idea. It makes it more fun that way, right? You can take your time and more fun. My last more specific statement would be at the very end. I think I have music for this here. I should have got this out before the class, but I'm a slacker. You know what I'm saying? Oh, here we go. I found it. I got it right here. Look at that. It's quick. Boom. Got it.
Boom.
So at the very end, this is to me, this is kind of an important distinction, Hunter. at the very end of this piece, we have this stuff here. We start the coda, right? And we go. Okay, then we have a fermata, and then we have piamoso, and the whole thing excels. All of this has got to is at one tempo. 3. 3. Rest. All those things. You hear I'm moving that like that? So the rest's in there. Yum, yum, rest. Yum, 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 rest. Yum, yum, rest. Yum, 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 yum. So it feels like the whole thing, once we stop with that fermata, the whole thing is, it's almost like this big wheel, and I'm trying to turn it. And I'm keep
slowly just going.
And finally, I'm getting this. Now the wheel is moving. You know what I mean? As opposed to it sounding. Otherwise, it sounds episodic. Otherwise, it sounds like beep, bop, beep. Now this phrase, but all those phrases work together until we get to the crazy fast lick, right?
Right.
And the hard thing is you get to this stuff because you have the question is, how do I approach this? Because then you have right, that stuff in there. I keep it going that way. And then we're at that lick right there. Okay, so you can, and at the end of that, just throw it away. You just go for it. You have to at that point.
Yeah. So getting into those two phrases, getting to that last little fast section, are you thinking of those phrases connecting or two separate ideas happening? Like we just finished the slow build up of the wheel.
Disconnected because you can't get from the low end up, right? You're talking about the last two passages before the big crazy going into orbit passage at the end, right? So you have to kind of and then I put a little bit of space. So whatever space I put between those two ones, like the space before the actual spiral, like I call it at the end, is a little bigger. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? So you come.
No, it totally does. I mean, it turns into almost a coda, almost like, oh, here's the coming to the end of the piece, and then actually no, different section.
And this is the big coda, and maybe this. That's maybe the codetta, right? So the coda and the codetta, and so all of that when you have. And then, see that space I put there? That like this and then you take off. Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say to you, I have over at the marimba is I would play these as double stops. I wouldn't go. I would play them together, attack them together. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally does.
More powerful, and it sounds more like pillars that come down like. Right? Yeah.
Right. You're getting harmony versus two different.
You're not getting baga. You're getting
right.
And when I do a double stop roll, I do a roll, and I do a roll that my left hand doubles. So they come down together, pow, pow, then my left hand plays again. It's almost like I'm doing a right hand lead roll, but I'm adding the left hand to the beginning of it. And then that disguises, because if I double the right hand, you hear the double in the right hand more because of the pitch. This is right. You hear it disguises it more here. Sometimes like ba, ba, right? That's what you want. So I would do that. I actually do those kind of rolls throughout the piece more when I have big attacks. I don't do separate hand to hand. I do them together for more accent.
Gotcha. There's a lot to unpack here, but this is all great. Totally changing my input. Say that one more time.
Yeah, no, just have to think about. You have to chew on.
Right.
Just,
I kind of have to go for it.
Yeah, you kind of gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of the biggest question, I would just love any advice, because the biggest thing, because I've really rewatched this piece in a hot minute, so rewatching it kind of builds that anxiety again in my body of playing it, of not anxiety, but just a good anxiety, intention released throughout the whole piece. But I see myself just kind of getting out of control a little bit throughout the piece. Do you have any advice to offer just to kind of keep yourself I guess, a little more cool throughout the sections. Obviously, not going as blazing fast as I did through a lot of those fast sections.
You have to like you practice. Maybe you practice run throughs with maybe videotape yourself. Do things that help you feel like in a bigger picture way. Find ways to play it for people or for video. Like when I video myself, I put my iPhone on and I tape. It's like I get nervous when I'm going to record myself do anything, even though I'm the only one that's going to listen to it. I get, gets me a little nervous, and I have to. So you want to get that feeling, but I think also be practicing it in a way that you play things slower than you think you should.
Yeah.
And the pacing, and make sure you don't start before you're ready on things. Don't be anxious to kind of take your time, and have moments like, let's say you're playing this lick here, and please forgive me for not being able to play all these things well here, but if I play
you're fine.
That one there. That one there. I think I'll take time. So maybe I'll think. When I get to there, I want to allow like little checks along the way to help myself. It's almost like I have little governors along the way, like I'm going to think about that as I play it, as opposed to trying to like play all of it. That helps. I could even practice it that way. And then break it up so that then when you're playing it through, you're having to think about it a little bit with some reference moments. And if you have those reference moments, then you're not trying to like go, whoa, because that's part of how it feels. Like I got to play all this right now fast. And
right.
You can kind of see it in slices more. It can help. It almost gives you like little handles to grab onto as you're playing through the notes. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that last section was probably one of the hardest for me, just because you got so crazy. You just got done going so fast. And then you get to that one section. It's honestly for me, it was one of the hardest things to learn, just to get note accuracy. I still didn't get it perfect in that recording. And that's a good point. I didn't think about dividing it up and making little exercises or something out of it. So that's a good point.
Yeah, segregate it up. You can segregate it and you can practice it in segregations. Like, like break it, boom, 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 and then and practice it where you put big spaces and then make the spaces small and then connect it. But even when you connect it, think about those, okay, here, now I'm here, now I'm here, now I'm here, I'm here, now I'm here, right? And that can really help. You know what I mean? I find myself wanting to hurry all the time, and I have to really work at that. I have to work on it. Yeah, I don't want to hurry. It's like, I was playing Caritas this summer for the first time in years. And I realized I had kept wanting to go back when I jumped down to play the next note. My anxiety of getting to that was basically I was actually shortchanging the time I had. And I liked it better when I actually took more time anyways, like even to make it feel like, so I had to really be intentional. I still have to, when I practice it, be thinking about those moments and taking time for those things. Sounds better, it feels better and sounds better. And actually, just making life easier for you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so, seriously. Placing versus just going for it and hoping it happens. So, and another, I guess, a quick question. I would love your just opinion, because when I'm listening to different recordings, you either get really brittle hard mallets or something that's a little softer. And what's your kind of go-to, not mallet, but just choice of where when you're playing this piece? Because I love the traditional Japanese music with the kekulabe hard mallets and how she plays it, but also I don't want to break the marimba I'm playing. But I think what happened,
well, first of all, with this genre of marimba music, I think it's important that we play with a mallet that reflects the sound world that the composers were hearing, which is that two-tone sound mallet, right? That's what they're hearing Abe play with, and that's sort of creates the dynamic threshold of expression, which is huge. So you want to have some of that. You got to have some of that in there. You got to have some edge. I think what you do is you find a mallet that works. You're careful not to overplay it, right? And a lot of times with two-tone mallets, I know like with mine that you can get like the 27Zs or 21Zs they're called, right? So those I like those, but if you use them too long, they actually after a while they wear out. Meaning they're not the sponginess that's in there that creates the two-tone, right? Because it's a kind of a spongy core. It's a hard core with a spongy thing, and then the yarn, and that spongy thing in all two-tone mallets is squishy, which allows you to kind of play poofy. And then when you really bring some velocity, it gets right to the center. That's why you have the sponge. It goes pow right in there, right? So after a while, the spring in that sponge gets, gets lost, and then
Yeah,
it gets.
out.
You want to make sure that you're careful about how long you use the mallets, and they'll work. But I even have some of Blake Tyson's mallets. I think the 19s or I forget what numbers in the Mallotech line, because I know that line the best in my way, because I understand those numbers. Those can work too, if they're, I've even used some of the Concerto series lines too. I think I use like the gray ones or the yellow ones at times, different things. So it depends, but you don't want to kill it, right? But you do want to have a bright sound and a two-tone sound, so you can actually represent that music in a way that gives it its sort of classification in our repertoire.
Right. Don't want to break that low G. So
you don't want to, especially if you're at Andrea school, she'll beat you up. You know what I'm saying to you? So.
Yeah, no kidding. But this is amazing. Thank you so much for everything. And
great to see you, man. Good luck with that.
Yeah,
say hi to Matt if you see him. You guys have a great summer, okay?
Appreciate it.
All right. Great job, Hunter. Well done.
Hi, man.
Right. We're going to move to Ben Hellett now.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. We haven't met before, have we, or have we?
One time I snuck you into a Percussion concert at the Chautauqua Institution.
Oh, cool. Wow.
I think it was
a while ago, probably 5, 6, maybe more than that, years ago, right?
Yeah, like 6 years ago or something like that. Somebody was like, "Hey, Michael Burritt's coming around and he doesn't have a ticket. Do you know what he looks like?" I'm like, "Yes, of course I know what Michael Burritt looks like."
Nice. So where are you? Where are you?
I'm in Bowling Green, Ohio right now. I just finished up my master's at BGSU with Dr. Piccolo. Nice. I'm here for 7 more days and then I'm moving out to Syracuse. I'm originally from Buffalo.
Oh, wow.
So your neck of the woods, where I did my undergraduate with Dr. Stonefelt at SUNY Fredonia.
Oh, very cool. Nice, man. Well, that's why you're near Chautauqua then. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like kind of where I grew up, that area.
So you're going to Syracuse, you said? Is that what you said you're going?
Yeah. My fiance and I are moving to Syracuse.
Nice, man. Great.
Starting up a band directing job there.
Good for you. Oh, great. What school?
Syracuse City School Districts.
Good for you, man. Well, great.
Thank you.
Good luck with that. Great. That's great.
Right now I'm working on
here. What do you got for me here, Ben? What do you
Marimba d'Amore by Keiko Abe.
Oh, great. Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. This recording I did a little bit a while ago. I'm trying to gain some more feedback before I go in and do another pass on it. Mm-hmm. There's just like a few hiccups in this recording that you sit on it for like a year and you kind of see what you could do better. And I'm just trying to get as much feedback as I can before I go back into the studio so I can utilize my time the greatest. I want to do a whole album of her works.
Oh, wow.
I got to study and perform with her a little bit. So I just feel like it would be a really awesome homage to all she's taught me and all that I've learned from Dr. Stonefelt about her. Yeah.
Great. Super.
Cool.
So, Michael, this one's 10 minutes. Do you, as I'm sure you're aware, but do you want me to play the whole thing? Because we're probably going to overrun a little if
what do we have? We have one more person after this?
No, we've got 2 more.
Oh. And how long are we going? Remind me.
So you got another hour and 10 minutes. We're just over halfway mark.
Until 3:30.
I think we can play it. I mean, I tell you what, if I decide to stop it, I'll just go like this. Is that
all right? Yeah. That's good. You tell me.
That? Let's just check it out.
All right.
Great. Nice job.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Oh yeah, of course. My pleasure. Yeah. I'd say the video is cool. Nice video work there. It's kind of fun. I love the close-ups and the lighting works really well. I love you have one mallet with like a string hanging off it still. It's like no, it's cool though. That's all right. Yeah, it shows a lot of practicing. It's good. So yeah. I mean, in general, I feel like you. Just reflecting on my notes here, I feel like you have a really strong sense of how you want to play the piece. It sounds to me like first of all, it sounds convincing, right? To me, what you're doing with the piece. The contrast of the sections are working well, and even in the pacing of those contrasts, I thought really nice. So I don't have a lot of things to say about your overall musical idea about how you're playing this music. I think it works really well. And it feels like it's comfortable for you, which is great. I would say that you could, play around with, just some simple things. Like even at the very beginning, when you're starting to play some of those lines in your left hand, play around with like using things like your mallet angle to help color the tone more with the lines. You're coming up on lines. You tend to stay in the same part of the mallet. Go towards the top more to the diminuendo to color it a little bit here. And then you can think about that throughout the piece a bit. Several times when you're playing like hand-to-hand rolls on big sections, sometimes I tend to hear a little more right hand. So listen for that. I don't think you want that, because it's interesting in the way she writes, because she writes a lot of hand-to-hand stuff. It's kind of drummy writing, right? It's kind of cool. It's drummy. It's idiomatic. And you have to make sure but the way you roll has a distinction from the way you're playing the hand-to-hand rhythmic passages, right? Okay. Because those can be confused, right? Because she is like, they're actually rhythmic. And sometimes you're rolling in a chorale type setting, orchestration, rimistration. And you want to make sure that the distinction of that from the rhythmic passage work is clear in the way you approach it. And that comes from the balance of your hands, and the way you're moving that way. So I would listen for that, for sure. One thing I was noticing, this is a small kind of a fun thing when you put those sections where you go, you have the mallets on the shafts.
Oh yeah, the drop rhythm.
Yeah, one little thing you can do that I have messed around with. I used to do this on playing velocities and stuff. But you can take your mallet shaft if you're like going like, can you see this over here?
Yeah.
So if I play closer to the head of my mallet, it's actually more tone. The closer I get to my hand, it's more. You hear the difference in sound?
Yeah, your hand's eating up some of the fundamentals. Right?
It almost rings more at the top of the mallet head. As I move down the shaft, it gets you hear more shaft.
Yeah,
it's tickier. So that's kind of a cool thing to experiment with, and you can kind of move down the marimba on some of this. So you got that when you're doing like, you may want to be like, or that way diminuendo. So you can mess around with the where the mallet shaft is on the bar, and that'll help color it and create just a bigger music world, right? That way.
Like create a timbre graph that way.
Yeah. When you have the things ding dong hoo, we have that hoo,
Yeah.
What's the word she writes? I forget. Is it hop or
it's just the letter U with an exclamation mark.
Hoo. Yeah, I always like it when it's more hoo.
Yeah, like a gut punch kind of thing.
Like a hoo, hoo. Yeah, a gut punch kind of thing. I feel like that is more. Where'd you go? Oh, what did you say?
You said I think it was kind of trying to stay true to the ooh kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like when you go hoo, hoo, it feels more like hoo, like gutter, like ho. It sounds. To me, it doesn't sound as profound. I don't know what it is. It says like ho, but
You know the song "Fuel" by Metallica.
No, I'm sorry. I can't say I know.
There's a part where the lead singer just goes, "Whoo!" And I really want that because it's just so guttural. That's a very metal moment. And I was
maybe it didn't come out on the other way. I felt like it was more like, huh. It's like more, huh. There's more like gut in it. Like, huh. Like it's like, oh, and it creates it's a gain, huh. Because that, huh, that's tension. It's like boom, boom, and then boom, you release with the chord. So you want to make sure whatever vocalizing you're doing, it leans into that part of the music. Boom, boom, whoop, boom, right?
Yeah.
Boom, ho! It's kind of a release. Don't release it yet with the vocal. So be careful. Think about that. That's
Gotcha.
a small thing. The last big, loud, strong hand-to-hand passage that you have, big one. Be careful that it's fun to play, and you're playing it fine. It's great. Just be careful that that you're always playing with dynamic intent. In other words, it felt to me like it was great, exciting. You played it with authority, all that. It felt to me like maybe it was kind of just strong the whole time, and it didn't have as much. You didn't play line or something. It's going to be strong. I don't mean that you should get down into mezzo piano range or something. I just mean within the bigness of the passage, you still have to have some momentum, dynamic. Yeah. And I think you could experiment with that, giving yourself stuff. I feel like it actually drives out of it better instead of just being sort of big and strong without dynamic direction within the louder range.
Yeah. Lately in my practice, I've been trying to hear more of the melody in the right hand and less make it less da 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 da.
Yeah, right.
Da da da. That kind of
Yeah. Play with that. So I like the camera angle there at the end of the release, and there's the kind of shaky thing or something that happens or whatever.
That's all Cole, my buddy Cole. We got our hands on some of the good gear from BGSU. Our friend Marco has these awesome cameras. Shout out.
It reminds me of a Cameron Leach WPG interview audition.
Oh yeah,
he's always got the best cameras, man.
Yeah, he went for that approach as well. Anyway,
Cameron, my man, he's like, yeah, very cool.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure working with you. This is awesome. Maybe once I'm out in Syracuse, it's not too far of a drive from Rochester.
Yeah, I'm right down the road. Come down and play for me sometime.
Awesome. I would love to.
We should go down and see some concerts. Eastman's not that far, right? I grew up in Syracuse. Did you know that?
You did?
Yeah, I went to West Genesee High School. I grew up on the west side of the city.
No kidding. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, way back in the day, man. My dad was my band director.
No way. Wow. That's awesome. And you're a Cowboys fan?
Mm-hmm. Wow. I am a Cowboys fan. That's another long story, probably for a different Zoom call, but I am. It's complicated, so yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
Over here. Well, thank you very much. I would love to come out and play for you.
Yeah, again, great to meet you again, man. And thanks for playing for me. Beautiful job with the piece. I think it's gonna be great. You play it great, and good luck with the new gig in Syracuse. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Take care of yourself. Have a good summer.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we're gonna leave the US for a little bit and go back to Europe. Elias.
Hi. Yes.
The floor's yours, buddy. Floor's yours.
Elias or Elias? What do you go by?
I go by Elias, but however you want to say it.
I'll say it how you want me to say it,
Yeah.
How are you?
Great. Yeah, I'm good. Nice to, very, very honored and nice to meet you.
And where are you?
Right now I'm in a place called Skövde, right between Stockholm and Gothenburg. In Sweden.
Yeah.
I'm studying in Estonia at the moment.
Interesting.
But, I'm on summer now, so I'm at my family home.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends in Sweden. I spent in the past. It hasn't been a while, but I spent a lot of time in Sweden. So I really like.
Yeah, I studied for a time with Anders.
Yeah, good man.
And Johan Brygger also, and I know you know them very well.
He's a good guy. Well, great.
Yeah.
So what do you have for me today?
Yeah, today I have a piece that I asked Erik Nathaniel, my brother, to write for me in my bachelor's, and it has live electronics, which it records during the piece and then plays it back both during the first half and also again in the second half, but not in the order they were played. It's very cool. I think I'm the only one who's ever played it so far, but hoping to spread it because I really think it's an awesome piece. And yeah, this is recording from 2 years ago, I think, from a concert I did.
Well, thanks for sharing this. It's kind of fun to hear new stuff. It's great.
Yep.
Beautiful. Nice. Elias, very nice, man. Cool. Nice change of pace to hear something like that. It's great. Actually, one thing right away, just my first thing is I like the length of the piece. It's like, it doesn't need to go on longer, right? So it's sometimes we end up getting indulgent with these things, and it's like, it's like, but no, great. I was thinking as you were playing it, it's like somehow it reminds me of there's a little bit. This reminds me of like King of Denmark, or you could say Stockhausen too, I guess. But it's got that. But because you're using your hands. So
actually, I asked him to be inspired by those pieces, so that's very cool that you see that.
Yeah, very definitely right away. Yeah, those are cool pieces. So no, I think so. I mean, very interesting. So let me ask you, just so I understand, live electronics. When you say that, are you triggering sounds? In other words, are there pickups on the instruments, or ways are they being recorded so you can like trigger sounds or trigger electronic things through the things you play, or are you controlling electronic sounds separately?
I'm not controlling them consciously, but they are triggered, and I'm not intelligent enough to understand how these things work, but they're triggered somehow with the dynamics that I play and the attack that I have on the sharpness of the attack.
Okay.
So they are, in the first half, it triggers a reverb on some sounds, which happens differently every time I play it, because it's not like I don't decide when it happens. And in the second half, it triggers the playback of the things recorded in the first half.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's really it's effective. Obviously, I'm sure, I keep saying this, I'm sure it's more effective if I'm in the room. Subtleties to things, like that. So that's great. It's a fun world. One of my students recently, Justin Lamb, commissioned a piece. Connor Sifron, who does a lot of it's live electronics, but it's like it's for looping, but not. It's I forget what it's called. I'm going to destroy this. I shouldn't say it, but it's really very interesting music. It's played on a piece of wood, but it's called something live looping. I forget, but it's not like you're looping and playing a figure. You're actually playing with the rhythms in there. It's a really interesting piece. So if you send me an email, I'll send you a link to check it out.
Yeah, I love that.
You might find it interesting. So, all right. So I think it's great. I think, the things I think about your sounds are great. I thought right away I wrote down that you have nice sounds with your hands and fingers. And because a lot of people, I do a lot of things with my fingers. I play on things, or I have the students play hand drums a lot in pieces, or making good sounds on things with either your fingers or your hands or stuff like that. And those are skills that we need to have, right? I mean, a lot of times they're going to play on drums and they don't understand how to get good, even on the tom-tom, how to get a good sound with your hands. It's easy to kind of get tup, 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 or boom. You want to get some resonance. Sometimes you want more focus. You use a finger. Sometimes you use more fingers. But you seem to do a great job of color. The sounds you get out of the tempo blocks are really good. That's kind of tricky. So you're getting a lot of good weight in your sound, and so all that stuff makes such a big difference in terms of the success of the music in this kind of piece, right? And to me, that was really effective from what I could hear. It was great. The things overall, I thought your movements were good, and again, I talked to other people about some movements. I mean, your movements it's part of what we do, right? It's not like we should sit around trying to choreograph what we're doing, unless it's a piece that requires that. I mean, but we do want to make sure our movements are both, first of all, not getting in the way of the music, and if anything, sort of leaning into the music and helping, right? So I think for the most part, you're doing that well. I think there's sometimes, because of the nature of what you have to do with your mallet changes and things like that, or sometimes one time you were back with a bass drum and you turned around and I felt like you were like looking to make sure you had your feet in the pedals or something was going on. And, small things, but all those things are part of our experience of the music. So your attention, I wrote here, like, careful where you focus your attention, because your attention here is where my attention is, right? So I know when I coach students on pieces like this, or whatever, it could be a multiple percussion piece of any kind, and they're playing, and they have to make a 16th, and they finish a passage, and all of a sudden they're here, and then they're like finishing, and they're over here. If your attention is gone from this, or maybe it's a moment where we need to sort of focus on what we just finished, so that we allow it to finish before we go here. Even though sonically it's still going, if our attention goes over here, the listener's attention follows us away from what we did. And sometimes we want that to be the case. Sometimes we want their attention to go. Now we're here. So all of it has to work that way. So careful, because sometimes you'll focus your attention on where you're going to pick up those sticks that are kind of they're kind of underneath something. I don't know what are they kind of in a little stick tray underneath the.
Yeah, I just have a table under the crotale, so it's all compact. Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, you know best where to have, but sometimes I feel like you could look at that and assess. Okay, I'm here. I finished vibes. Now I'm going to focus, get those, and go here, as opposed to here, and then you focus on this. Sometimes I think you focus on the mallets a little bit more than you need to.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of segregates or creates a chasm between the adjoining parts. You know what I mean? A little bit, Yeah. So, and maybe you need to put them somewhere else. Maybe it's a matter of not having to go underneath. Maybe it's like they're here and you're like moving on here. So the continuity of movement, then you're there.
Right.
And you can have your attention be where it needs to be so that our experience is, where your ears want, where your ears want us to be. You need it, to help us get there in terms of the visual aspect of that. Yeah, and I like that it's a very subtle, piece of music. I'd have to see it again to think about the ending. I wonder. I think I like the length. I think I was surprised at the end. I wasn't. It didn't feel like we were finishing. Although I don't know. I mean, maybe if I listen to it again, I might feel differently about it because I'm trying to remember right now. But I didn't expect it. And it's fine. That's okay. That's also valid. It's over. Okay, it's over. Wow. Or is that what you want? Should it be like, oh, okay, that's it? Or should it be like, I'm doing in the way I'm approaching the ending, in the way I present it? It helps us to feel that we're sort of coming to a place where we're going to rest, we're going to relax, and the movements help me find that. So that when we get there, oh, okay, cool. I don't know. What do you want? How do you want that to work?
Yeah, not entirely sure. I think the way I did it was partly because I kind of have to. I mean, not before that, but the very ending, because I kind of have to stretch. I have to hit the pedal at the same time as I hit the crotale and the tam. Okay. So it's kind of
tricky.
Yeah, so I mean, it's also could be fixed with having another pedal closer to where I need to be standing. But yeah. But that's definitely a good idea to be thinking about calming it down before hitting the end.
Yeah. I just don't. Yeah, when I reflect on it right now in the immediate aftermath, like it felt to me like interesting sounds, and I don't necessarily need to follow a form. It's hard to it's almost like an experience, the piece, really, right? But maybe it's nice if I can feel like you're helping us and you're sort of helping us feel the piece sort of relax itself, or the piece sort of find its way to a conclusion. That can help us actually frame the piece and our experience better. Does that make sense? Especially in that kind of music. But I think it's great. I'm sure that piece would be great, like in a black box theater or a place where you could. And I could see Anders loving that piece actually.
Yeah, I think he was at the concert and he did like it. Yeah.
Oh, wasn't? Yeah, I can see that. He's the kind of guy. I remember the first time we played together, or he had me over there, which is way back in 1997. So you were probably not born yet. So
barely 3 years or something.
There you go. So I remember we were doing improv on the concert, and the improv Anders kissed the vibraphone, So, it's one of those. Yeah. He's one of those guys that's not afraid to do anything, right? So, which I love about him. So, but yeah, great moments, great sounds, and it's just something that you are gonna. Your repertoire, I don't know what your repertoire is, it's just something you're on the area of performance. You want to do more things with electronics, or was this just a one-off experience that you just happened to be partaking in?
No, it's a piece I've played a couple of times. I haven't done other works in the same vein, but I'm very much interested in it. It's just I'm not very good at the electronics, so there's like a bit of a learning curve. For this, he programmed everything in the supercollator. All I had to do was press play, and that's it.
Well, that's what you want.
Yeah, for sure.
It's fun to do stuff. I've done several pieces with electronics. I wrote one that has electronics, you know, and then some other ones I played that include that, both like solo pieces and pieces with groups and things like that. So it's a cool element, you know what I mean? It's also another variable. It's another you know, depends on what kind of music it is. It's another, it's another part of the, you know, the equation, which is interesting. At the soundboard can be kind of cool, you know. I saw about a week ago. I saw a Pat Metheny concert. He was in Rochester here and did a show, and he's like a show with a trio. It was cool. And he, in his shows, and I've seen this before in his shows, he starts off by himself on guitar, which is fantastic. He plays like this huge 40-string guitar that was made for him. It's really amazing. Yeah. Then he brings out the other players, and one by one they come out. There's a drummer and a keyboard player, and then they play something. And towards the end of the concert, last third of the concert, he opens up what he calls the orchestrion, which is like a bunch of instruments. There's an album he did called Orchestrion, which is a very cool album, which is where he triggers. There's a whole room. He does it in a church that he, in all these different, there's keyboard instruments, there's mallet instruments, there's like marimbas and vibes, and there's cymbals, and there's conga drums, and there's all, and he triggers them. They're programmed, and he triggers these sounds as he's playing. And so the cool thing about the concert was that the sound world kind of started as one person and then opened up to the trio. And then at the end, the trio was amplified by this orchestrion that he had.
Right.
So I think sometimes one of the things I like about electronics, and one of the reasons I started getting interested in doing some pieces with it, is that you could take your concert and the sound world can be more diverse and bigger, or you know, which is kind of cool about that. You know, it's interesting.
For sure.
So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and now it's going to, I mean, there's no question that electronics and technology are going to play a huge part in what we do going forward, you know?
Yeah, more and more pieces and cooler pieces are written for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, you know, it is. And, you know, and also it's a way, depending on the kind of music, it's also a way for us to connect with people outside of our world that don't listen to our music. But if we do pieces like that, they find a connection in that. And then that's a doorway in, you know, so. Which is interesting. So
yeah, in some ways it's also like bringing an ensemble but not having to play them, like pay them. Like it expands the sounds that you can produce in the concert, which I find really helps an audience appreciate it. No question about that. It's interesting. So you're studying in Estonia? Yeah, right now I'm doing a master's there. Yeah.
And who's teachers there?
Heigo Ruisin and Vambula Krigur, if you know them.
And what brought you to Estonia? How did you end up?
Well, actually, because my girlfriend won the position of principal flute in the National Opera there, so I just kind of followed her over. It's very close to Sweden, so I just followed her over the. Well,
that's a very good and honest reason.
yeah.
Love brought you to Estonia. I get it.
Yeah.
Do you like it? Is it nice?
It's nice. Have you ever been to Tallinn?
No, never been to Estonia.
It's a very beautiful old town. I really recommend it sometime.
I recommend Tallinn. Is amazing.
Yeah,
it's incredible. It's really good. Yeah, no, you need to go to Estonia. It's really
good. Well, Elias, you have to get me a gig over there, okay? That's your job.
I'll talk to my teacher about it. For sure.
Funny enough,
the best of my friends, you know what I'm saying?
What goes around comes around, because Elias's teacher is actually one of the very first members of WPG.
Yep.
Oh,
so that's pretty cool. So yeah. But yeah, I recommend Estonia. It's really cool. By the way, Elias, I was going to ask you: is that taken in the concert hall there?
No, this is actually in the concert hall of the Royal Academy of Stockholm.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. I've been there before. Yeah, that's a nice place. Yeah.
Cool.
That's where isn't that where Daniel Barry is now?
Daniel Berg. He's been my teacher for my entire life.
Yeah, he's a good man.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, I just actually wrote a piece for those guys last year.
Yeah, I heard. I didn't hear the piece yet, but I heard it was a very fun project for them.
They were great. They did a great job. So nice. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, nice. We're great to meet you, Elias.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Thank you.
Bravo, man.
Bravo.
Thanks for sharing the music.
Thanks. All right. I know this is a bit of a marathon for you, Michael, but we've got one more, and then we'll let you go on your merry way, if that's okay.
I like this. An American. We finish with an American. Here we go.
We're going to Vegas.
Vegas,
baby.
Vegas. I like that, man.
Andrew.
Actually, this guy looks a little bit like Cameron at first glance. You know what I'm saying? Just for a second, the smile has a leech smile to it. You know?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Just a little bit there, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the white teeth. I'm not sure, you know. But plus, you got the good name, Ryan. Man, you could be like Ryan Bond. You sound like a. I mean, the last name Bond. You can't go wrong, dude. You know.
Well, I've got Tim here to introduce me. You know, got the right accent and the right name.
It's already been used
Exactly.
far too much. All right, guys. I don't think you really need to introduce this piece, but do it anyway. Or just talk about yourselves for a minute, and I'll just cue up the video.
Yeah. So I'm Ryan Bond. I'm originally from Utah, and I'm here in Vegas studying with Dean and Tim at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And I'm doing a graduate degree. And of course, I get to do this piece with my good friend Andrew, who's a great player currently in Ohio. I'll let him talk about himself. And just, yeah.
Nice, man. Cool. Say hi to Tim and Dean when you see them again for me, would you?
Will do. Yeah, I'm seeing both of them a little later today. So moving to an office.
I was in town playing I played a flute convention there, which is at Caesar's Palace. You know, my debut at Caesar's Palace was playing Jolivet and stuff. You know, can you imagine? You know, so, but I had to rehearse, and Tim, this is back in 2012 or 13. He allowed us to use the percussion room there, and I rehearsed with some of my students and did some stuff there way back. So I appreciated that. So thank him again for me.
Do, and this location will look a little familiar to you as well then.
Oh, is that right? Oh, cool. Is that the room with the cage in there and stuff, kind of like with the storage? There was
yeah, right behind it.
Yeah, cool.
All right, Andrew, do you want to just introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, I'm also in the same program as Ryan at UNLV, studying with Tim and Dean. I love it. We have 1 year left together. So
So is it you guys in the master's program? What are you doing?
Doctorate.
Oh, doctors. There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the plan.
And Andrew, where are you in Ohio right now?
I'm with family right now. I'm in Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah, I know it. Well, I used to teach at Kent State.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right on the road.
Yeah, my first job way back in in the 20th century. I taught there right out of Eastman when I was about 23. So it was a good job. I loved it for a while. It was, when I was young, it was great.
Wow.
So yeah, Youngstown, Ohio, good place, man. Good Italian town, right? As I recall, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So what do you guys got for me? What's the piece?
We'll be playing Wildlings by Ivan Trevino, as you very a little nerve-wracking playing it for you, of course, but knowing that you were going to be working and doing this, we said, we got to do a piece that we know you've played and we want to, get all the knowledge we can from you. So we threw this piece together, recorded it a little sooner than we thought. We both had some emergencies, had to go different places with family and whatnot. So, but we threw this together and, definitely want to get your feedback and,
sure.
I'll be playing your part.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks. This is great, man. Let's do it. Yeah. Hey guys, it's great, man. Thanks for playing. It's fun to hear it. I just played that. Well, it's been a while. I played it in April on a gig I had with someone. Actually, a friend of mine. It was really it was fun. It was cool. It's good. It's a fun piece to put together. You know, he wrote that like when did he write that for a recital I gave? He was still living in, I think he was still living in Rochester when he wrote. Oh, maybe not. I don't remember now. No, maybe he wasn't. That's right. Because for a while when he left grad school, he stayed here for a while. He left out. But the funny story is when we made our video of that piece, which was probably 4 or 5 years ago now, 2018, we did that and Sweet Dreams and Time Machines in the same session. And he was supposed to come in the day before because we hadn't played it in 9 years or a while. Maybe it wasn't 9 years. It was a while. We hadn't played it together. I think we only played it once, actually. So he was supposed to come in and we were supposed to rehearse both pieces. We had played Sweet Dreams before, but it had been a little bit. So he was supposed to come in the day before the video session. Then he called me like a week before and goes, "Oh no, I forgot. I'm taking my wife to Hamilton and I can't come in that day. I can only come in the day of the video session." I already had booked the videographers at 410 Media. So I was like, okay. So in the morning I did solo videos that I had to do. He got there like mid-morning, late morning. Comes down, we set up at 1. He's like, we're like, basically we did Sweet Dreams and that within like 4 hours. Like, let's go. And we just rehearsed it on the spot and rehearsed as we recorded. It was kind of fun. But the funny thing is, Ivan's video, he has one less drum than he's supposed to have. You notice that? Yeah, he forgot to set the drum.
I noticed that.
We're like, we can't. Is this really? We're
Yeah,
trying to look.
he realized it later. So I didn't have enough drums. We just playing the video. It's great. You love that stuff. You know, it's true. It's like, so anyway, but no, it's great, guys. You sound great with it. You know, I think, well, some of it's a little tricky. Some of the hocketed rhythms you got, but when it gets together at the beginning, I think the key is in those sections. Actually, I have this setup over here, which is actually for this big Schwander piece I've been playing. But when I'm playing, it depends on where those doubles are. I'm just let me turn my camera. Actually, I shouldn't. I think my granddaughters are sleeping. I really shouldn't play loud right now. Be careful. Be careful. But like, I'm gonna inflect. Sometimes I'll inflect towards the second note. So if you get so make sure your inflection that you're doing where that inflection goes, it helps the other person feel where the beat is, right? You don't want to each play gaga gaga. I forget. I think sometimes I come in, you know, those doubles have to be inflected the right way. Sometimes it's towards the second note. That can help with that, you know. But that's fun stuff to do. I thought the solos are great. I thought your sounds on the congas and bongos are great, man. Your hands sound great. Get nice colors and sounds. You get that roll going with your heels. That's nice. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to tell Ivan about that. He can't do that. He's got to get that together, you know, for the next one. So that was really good. I thought you guys were great. You know, maybe think about the solo section, finding a way to, and maybe you kind of doing this, but, you know, contour it, like build it out. Like, okay, we come in, then we do this, and we come out of it, or we do a way to sort of feel like it's pushing you back out. To you kind of want to take the solo section and push into when you get back to the setups, so that musically the piece has momentum coming back into that section. You know what I mean? That's what I would do there. So, which is super fun. When you come out of that, you got what do you got? When you finish it, right? And then back around to the recap. Don't let that moment go too long. I don't think. I think that was a little bit long that time, because you know, again, I've been talking about this with different things. You set up a moment. It's like a tension moment, or it's like it's like a skipping rock. It's like boom, boom, right? It goes back in the water, right? So you're kind of your rock is like weight. There's a weightlessness right there to that moment. You know, you want to make sure that you feel that, and then wow, we're back in again. You know, out of that. So, I would just look at that a little bit. At the very end, when you go doom doom come, right? I always play it on the side of the drum, like here. So maybe I'd reach around to the outside of the tom-tom here. We're like, got. I would do like that. Got, doom, doom, boom. So that you got a bigger sound on the rims. Like it's kind of there's more husk in the sound when you play that, somewhat like the shaft of the stick right in here, right in there is on the shell like that. So it kind of gets a big, fat, dark, husky sound. I guess that's the best way I can describe it,
Yeah, that's great. Andrew did a great job, I feel, doing getting that sound out. I was on the rims because the drums I have recently, they're the drums we wanted to use, but recently there's been a crack in them in the shell, so I wanted to avoid hitting it because just naturally I go towards it. So for that recording, until we get something, I hit the top. So that was just
you're being careful. You're behaving yourself on the instruments. That's good. Yeah,
trying to. Andrew, was getting that good sound out of it at that. Yeah.
So that's kind of it. That's a small thing. I think the other thing I would look at for you guys, this is a bigger picture thing, but which is you play it, it's fun. You're playing it great. You have fun with it. Think about the aesthetic that you each bring to the music. So when you're playing in a duo, you're each going to have your own personalities. Tim would certainly attest to this from Rocket too. Like you're going to have your own personality. So Ivan and I have played together a lot. We've done a bunch of stuff together, So we have a good chemistry together. We have fun playing together. We're both pretty go for it kind of people, Like I'm not the kind of guy I always say I'm the kind of guy that I step out before I know where the floor is. It's like, who cares? I'll find the floor, I may fall on the way. So I think both of you could lean into deciding, you both need to be going for it or have the same if I say musical countenance, does that make sense? Your countenance is whatever your mood you're putting forward or whatever your aesthetic that, my countenance in the morning might be a quieter countenance than it is in the evening. I don't know. But I think you both sometimes could look at how you both are coming to the piece and you want to kind of have a shared musical countenance. It's important, right? That'll make the piece feel like you're both approaching it with the same energy and the same kind of freedom. And I would suggest really getting it so it feels free and fun and you go for it. And it feels like you're just jamming. It's like to me, this is like a John Bonham piece, John Bonham's drumming. It's a kind of heavy. It's kind of like that kind of weighty, funky. It's awesome that way, right? You want to kind of lean into that, but play with a freedom in your playing that leans into that. And you both need to have a similar kind of a freedom or aesthetic, maybe is the better word for it. So look at that. That's all, without being there and getting to hear all I was going to say one thing that cracks me up, man. That one drum has a big boing to it at the beginning. I hear it, that low tom. It's like, it's killing me, man. I'm almost like, am I hearing a sound effect? But it's the drum. It was hilarious. I love it. I mean, it's kind of funny. Yeah.
We notice it's especially when we get those extreme weather changes here in Vegas. We're now up today. It says it's supposed to get up to 116 Fahrenheit. Hopefully it doesn't.
Wow.
But we got that weather changes, and as soon as we heard in the recording, it wasn't too much heard in the room. But as soon as we heard in the recording after, we're like,
I think it's funny, man. I think it cracks me up. I mean, I like it. It's like a gliss sound in there. It's like, it's killing me. It's great though. Yeah. So great though. I mean, I think you guys are on the right track with the piece, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. One hard thing I always found was kind of hard when you have to transition, like Andrew, when you got to go, you're going, and then Ryan starts the solo stuff, and then you got to go to your hands. I always think there's got to be a way to make that sound less like we turned off the radio and turned it back on again or something, one hand, sneak back in. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to do that, or diminuendo and then back in, or some way to make it sound like on top. I bet, because it takes the it's a weird threshold shift in the music there that feels strange to me. So I forget, what did he write there? Did he write it? Did you just jump out and jump back in? I don't remember what.
Yes, I have a rest. I actually have a bar rest before I come back in with the hands. We did actually have one recording where it sounded phenomenal going between, but then when we went back to the cameras, three of them weren't recording. We were like, no.
Always the
one, but it was gone. So.
Yeah. Always you got the best take and you can't use the best take because I remember once I did a recording, but we were doing my first CD, which is old. It's called Perpetual. It's from the late '89. I did it way back. And Gordon Stout and I play a piece together on the CD, and we were this is back when we were recording analog before digital. So you had to cut, slicing it was crazy stress. But so we're doing takes, and you got to do takes for a certain amount. You're trying to figure out how to go. And I remember this is a Hockaday passage, and it was a great take of it. And right at the end of it, Stout's stomach goes. It's just hit that we were eating like junk food in between takes, and his stomach starts to growl in a way, and it was like, shoot, and then we went back and listened to it. I was like, no, we can't use this. It sounds like, there's like a, some kind of animal in the background or something on the recording. So it's always the way it is, you get the thing. Well, but anyway, do you have any questions for me, guys, about this that I can answer about the piece or anything? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I know there's a different kind of feel, and I know at times Andrew and I are feeling kind of the same subdivision and kind of what's going on with the piece, and other times, we tend to feel something else. I was wondering kind of throughout the piece what your mental approach with like what you feel in terms of, when it goes da 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 da, if you're feeling that dotted, if you're feeling like quarter note pulses, if you're feeling the dotted eighth note pulses.
You mean like when it goes that kind of rhythm?
Yeah, where you're kind of feeling some
I think in general, what I would say about rhythm is I'm always trying to feel the rhythm in a bigger way.
Okay.
So if I'm feeling, if that's a hemio, like 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm not thinking I'm thinking gong, doom, bong, bong, gong. So it's a 4 against 3 rhythm, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling bigger. I always think bigger is better. Because I have to learn it smaller. Maybe not that rhythm. That would be kind of just play. But rhythms that you learn, you tend to learn. Okay, and then you start to feel it bigger as you understand it and feel it. You feel it here. You don't feel it like this. So I think most of the time, it's true that you feel a rhythm over a bigger sense of the beat. You're going to feel it better because you're relating it to a bigger relationship. That to me feels better than feeling I might orchestrate a piece where it sounds like dum. And as the section goes on, I may add something to elevate the intensity, like later, because that will kind of add some energy and some like momentum to the orchestration to do something like that. But in terms of my feel of it, I want to feel it bigger. Does that answer your question? I don't know if that answers it.
That helps. Yeah, that definitely does. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it may change. You could change those gestures to feel larger senses of the meter and smaller too. But that's also always the best way to go. Of course, you want to be careful. You're not rushing when you feel bigger. You don't want to compress things, but if you have, you work on it here, then you feel it there, right? Cool. Yeah. It's cool stuff. It's fun. I think it's also fun in pieces like this when you're learning them or when you're practicing them to do things like improvise over the feel together. Not just the fast time, improvise over the beginning feel. The slappy, funky feel, just to get your rhythmic feel and grid, sort of joined, that you're feeling like you're in the same place about how you want the style of the rhythm, the feel of the rhythm, how you both are sort of feeling that in the same context. It's kind of a fun way to go. So cool. Great.
Yeah.
Great, guys. Nice job, man. Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah.
Meet you as well.
An honor.
Well done.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I didn't know, Michael, if we've got literally like 4 minutes left just to bring everyone on, and maybe if anyone's got a couple of quick questions.
Yeah, I know. I talk fast, Tim. It's
you can say farewell.
I like this. It's like they come on one by one. Yum, 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 yum.
Yeah, it's like
it's theatrical that way. It's very nice. Whoa. Yeah, you got Ben's fixing his hair. You know what I'm saying? He's got his,
I'm going to dinner soon.
All right. Has anyone got any quick questions?
Got any questions? I have all the answers. So just go ahead, fire away.
I have a quick question.
Go for it.
Yeah.
All right. As a younger performer, should we be doing maybe more longevity on one piece, or maybe a small bit of repertoire for a longer period of time, or should we be trying to explore as much as possible? What do you think in 4 minutes?
Well, I mean, I think it's a good question. I feel like I would say this. The way I teach, and I'll give you a couple answers. The way I teach is I want to make sure that they learn things well. So if we're studying repertoire, I don't want to like go through a zillion pieces and sort of just scratch the surface of that experience. I want them to immerse themselves in that music, so that whatever piece, whether it's Mirage, like Hunter played for me, or whatever we're working on, or Spiel, or it doesn't matter, or I want to make sure that we're digging in and we're getting a lot of juice out of what we're working on, so that we can grow from that experience. It doesn't mean that you won't come back to that piece in 4 years and play it better or play it different. But do it, and then I don't like to harp on a piece forever. So, for example, if it's a semester where you're doing a jury, depending on the repertoire we're doing, I don't necessarily like my first year students. They have a jury in the spring. We get back after a break at the holiday there at the New Year. I don't start working on jury music until maybe the end of February, because I want to work on some other stuff, and then we'll go to jury music. I don't want to be doing this jury music whole semester. We don't need that. I want to do more. But if you're coming back into a big jury and recital, and you're learning con variations, and you're learning rebounds A and B, and you're learning whatever stuff like that, we need to start working on that stuff right away. And that stuff takes a longer period of time to work on and digest and play really well. So it also depends on the kind of music you're playing. So I would say to you that you have to sort of answer that question for yourself a little bit, that how do I feel about where I'm growing? And, I think it's good sometimes. I've done this enough. I'm going to move on to this piece now and grow from this, and let myself have a different experience and try to move forward instead of harping on something forever. I would think that's important too, for sure. You can have more than one piece going at once, right? It depends on the kind of music it is, right? So I wouldn't suggest learning Moju and velocities at the same time necessarily if you don't have to, So I would kind of give yourself, you can focus on one really intense piece at a time, or if you can, you're doing a big recital and you have to learn a lot of things at once. You have to learn a lot of things at once. So, I will say though, there's a skill to. Now we were talking about this actually. I talk about this all the time to students. And matter of fact, when we were Tony, we were talking about practicing, and you have to learn to practice. The older you get, I don't have as much practice time for all this stuff, right? Like, I actually have to. I just finished writing a new piece because I had a commission. I just got back from Italy like 2 weeks ago or something. I don't know what it was, something like that. And I had to finish a commission that I wrote for a duo. And I've been doing some practicing every day because I have to go to Portugal next week to play another concert. And when I get back from Portugal, I go right to the Chautauqua Festival where I have to play the Schwantner piece again. Now I've played this piece a lot. I just finished playing it in May in France, but I haven't played it since mid-May. So last week I started dabbling to try this section. I'll try this section. I'll play a little bit of this. I'm back to practice the marimba stuff I have to play in Portugal, so that I still would have that sort of in my head. Get ready for Portugal. Go back from Portugal. I have 2 days. I'm going to go to Chautauqua. So that's balanced, and I don't have 5 hours a day to practice, So it's kind of, I have to be efficient. And the older you get, I think Kim would probably lean into this. You have to be smart about your practice time. And if you have a half hour, I can get a lot of things done in a half hour. I have a half hour. I'm going to use it.
Half an hour is impressive. That's what I'll say.
What do you say?
I don't even get half an hour.
Yeah. You have young kids, don't you, Tim?
I do, yeah.
Yeah,
5-year-old.
Yeah. I remember those days, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, anyways,
it's great. All right. Well, I think this draws us to a natural conclusion. So, Michael, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, man. That's great.
Amazing couple of hours.
Thank you for putting it together, and congratulations on all the work that you do with WPG. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic organization, man, and it's great that you provide this for the students to be a part of. I'm honored to be a part of it, and I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing, and you guys are going to PASIC in a couple of years. I think if that's going to work out, that'd be cool too. So
we'll see. We'll try and work on it. All right. For those watching on the live stream, thank you so much. There's been quite a few people in the WPG that have not been on the stream, actually, Michael. They thank you as well. And we've had quite a few questions come in. So I think there's been quite a lot of activity tonight. So thank you so much for that. We'll join you same time, same place tomorrow for Christoph Sietzen tomorrow. So
nice.
really looking forward to that session. So until then,